Hey gang, so static spin versus Triquetra is another one of those moves that I do just all the damn time, and I love doing for an audience, especially when I'm doing it on fire or with glow, because the patterns it creates are absolutely beautiful, and it's one of these moves that I can just rip through really fast so that the trails of it are really obvious to the audience. It's also another one of these anti-brids that is kind of a cornerstone of my style, but I've never really done an instructional video on. So we're going to fix that now. And more specifically, the reason this video is coming up right now is because I did a video just a couple weeks ago on how to do pendulum versus cap. And as it turns out, the techniques for learning these two moves are actually quite similar. I actually know two different approaches to putting together a static spin versus Triquetra, one of which winds up with the odd pedal pointed down and one of which winds up with the odd pedal pointed up. And so I'm going to divvy these up into two different tutorials. One is going to happen this week, and the next one is going to happen next week. So we're going to start off with the one that's a lot closer to pendulum versus cap. Just as a brief recap, in pendulum versus cap, we learned how to build up caps by starting off with the poi turning clockwise over on your left-hand side, dropping the poi down your center line, bringing the poi out to your right side, and then dragging the poi underneath your hand all the way back here to the left. So it consists of a drop, and a drag, a drop, and a drag, a drop, and a drag. To turn this into a cap, what we did was we dropped our hand down with it, we dragged our hand down with it, dropping and dragging, dropping and dragging. Now the cool thing is that the only thing that really separates this from a Triquetra is that instead of having our hand drag down with the poi, instead our hand goes up by our shoulders when we do the drag, like that. So instead of thinking of it as the hand going back and forth down along the same bottom half of a circle, instead when we come over here to the right side, the hand's going to lift up and over to get back to the left-hand side, thinking that we're dropping down and then we're dragging across our shoulders, dropping down, across our shoulders, dropping down, across our shoulders, dropping down, across our shoulders, right? Now, the other poi has a much easier job because all it has to do is switch from doing a pendulum like this to just like we did with this poi when we're over here on our right-hand side, switching from going down and around to up and over. When it hits that right shoulder, we're going to give it a little bit of a push to get it up and around to our left-hand side in a complete circle, right? So to put it all together, we're going to take our pendulum versus cap right here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to count down from 3 to 1, and when I hit the 0, I should be doing this when both my left-hand poi, that is my white one, and my right-hand poi, that is my orange one, are both out to my right-hand side. And when that happens, I'm going to switch from going down and around to up and over, yeah? So in 3, 2, 1, this time they both go up and over, and then I come straight back to pendulum versus cap, yeah? Let's do that again. So in 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to go up and over, yeah? It's going to be really tempting with your right hand as it's going over the top to try and put in an additional pedal or an additional rotation. Ways to avoid that are really to think that you have to drag that poi around underneath your hand. As you're going up and over, it's less about getting the poi up as it is getting your hand up and imagining that that poi has got to be hanging underneath your hand the entire way. You really want to have a moment where it almost passes by your eyes, where you can do a little spot check of the poi hanging underneath your arm as it goes back to the left-hand side, yeah? You also might find it a little bit of a challenge to get that oomph necessary to get your left-hand poi up and over. What I'd recommend for that, honestly, is just to imagine that you're going to try and launch that up and out of your right-hand side, that it's less about kind of getting it over to the left as it is, boom, getting it towards the sky, yeah? So think that you're trying to get that left-hand poi to the sky, the right-hand poi, and that place where you can check it past your face as it goes under. Boom, like that. And it may take a few times practicing this to really get that down, but once you do, it's time to start working on reps. That is, say, instead of just doing a single one before returning to Triquetra versus, or rather to pendulum versus cap, which I do recommend because it gets you back to something that's familiar and stable before you try anything else. We're going to try and do 2 reps of it. So this side would be 3, 2, 1, and we're going to go boom, up and over, and then again, boom, up and over. Yeah? And It will be a challenge to keep up multiple reps of it in a row, but again, it's one of these things that you build over time, say getting from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and you just work on this every day and see how many reps you can add to it each time, right? And eventually it'll come to a point where it feels fairly natural. And the great part of this then is that you have a great transition from pendulum versus cap, which you already know, to triquetra versus static. It's a great dynamic shift, and it looks great to the audience, yeah? So, next week we'll be tackling how you do the static versus triquetra with the odd pedal pointing up instead of down, which is, I find, a little bit more of a challenge, but not impossible. So, thank you guys for watching, and have yourselves a great week. I will see you next week. Peace. Hey gang, this video was sponsored by Harmonic Threads. They created this hoodie as well as the tops that I'll be wearing all month long in my videos. As a male fire dancer, it's really a challenge sometimes to find nifty looking clothes that are still fire safe. Harmonic Threads is filling in the gap with fire safe and stylish clothes for both men and women. You can visit their Etsy shop by clicking on the link in the description of this video and use the promo code DrexFactor to get 10% off of your order. Thank you so much to Harmonic Threads for helping me create these videos. If you or someone that you know has learned something from one of the videos that I've created, please consider going to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up to be a supporter. There you'll get access to a lot of behind-the-scenes content as well as some great rewards, plus which you'll be helping me create educational flow arts content for people the world over.